You'll see it.
Maybe
All
we'll
right.
drink beer before we do this.
Oh, go ahead. No, you can do whatever you want on this, man.
Well,
Thanks for being here, Scott.
I'm wearing my favorite shirt tonight just for this podcast. So, you know, I had to be sporting this one for sure.
Well, good for you, man. I like that though. So first, Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's. We're doing this podcast. This will be released sometime in January, but I'm glad we got to do this because I was on your podcast recently, your brand new podcast. Um, I got to see your shop before they put the laser in there, but I see the laser behind you, man. That laser looks great. So, and I know you do a lot of things. You have the Laser Pro. You have you're a real estate agent. You got a lot of things going. But tell us like what you got all going on right now and how that's going for you.
Right now I am a half owner of Wasatch Prints. It's a
Okay.
company. It's a company that I founded about 7 years ago, and it's more from DIY photography to DIY photography and printing to Wasatch Prints. Then me and my business partner came together, and so we have a full service print shop. And when I mean full service, I don't send stuff out. We do our own screen printing. We do our own embroidery. We do our
Oh
own large
wow.
format printing. We make our own signs. We have a big production printer that's rated for 750,000 prints a month. So we do our own business cards, our own flyers, our own brochures, our own. If I don't do it, 90% of the time I don't sell it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool, man. So you got Wasatch Prints, then you have Utah Laser Pro, and I believe you run that. You do that with your wife. Your wife owns it. Or
Yep.
you do that with your wife.
So right now, Utah Laser Pro is our newest endeavor. What you see behind me, that's the big blue beast back there. Laser engraving has always been something that's been really interesting to me. Being able to do
Yeah.
tumblers and glasses and, even custom designs on weapons.
Oh,
It's a rabbit hole that you can go down in so many different directions. When we went down to the factory that sells the Thunder lasers is the brand that we went with. The weirdest thing, they were cutting fabric, and that's what they
oh
actually used
wow.
3 of these machines for. It was a big quilting company, and they cut tons of fabric to customers. And then one of the other people that were looking at buying one did custom cake toppers, so they were able to cut mirrored acrylics to do gaggy type of cake toppers, and it just kept on hitting me in my mind, all these different things. So I thought it was a really neat idea. My wife, bless her heart, much nicer person than me, has been in business with me. But once I had a business partner, she's been more out of the loop. She wanted to re-enter the workforce, and we just sat down and, we prayed about it and said, do we go work for somebody else, or do we find something that works for us?
Hmm.
The laser became just a really good option. And so we're going to run with it. I just got it in Monday, got it set up Tuesday, played with it a little bit yesterday, and, just fine tuning everything. But it's a super neat business.
That is cool. And what made you pick? I know you kind of told me about how like the laser came into being in your shop, but how did you? What was the laser? What was the idea for the laser business? Like, have you guys heard about it before? Have you done it before? Was it something you saw? Like, how did you come up with that?
Being a print shop, we get a lot of people that want like wooden business cards. So stuff like this.
Yeah, those are dope.
Then they want metal business cards. This one's made out of aluminum. And they
Oh, that's
want
cool.
all these things. And, up until now, we've had to send them out. We did, I'm looking around my shop, everything that I have laying around here, like slate coasters that you can actually engrave into rock.
Oh wow.
The concept to it just blows me away. So all these different things, and we have a lot of companies that come to us and say we need swag and giveaway items. Well, not
Mm,
everybody wants to hand out a $100 jacket or a $20 hat. So
yeah.
we're sitting there looking what was some other options that we could do. So coming into the laser realm, I know other people that have done it, but their costs just were really high. It was kind of prohibited as a company to try to take their retail costs and turn around and resell it. And it goes back
Mm,
into saying, if I don't make it, I don't want to depend on other people if I put my name behind it.
yeah.
So this just came, I saw it was a natural fit with our print shop. We already have a client base of business to business sales. Currently we have about 1,600 customers in the last year and a half in our database. So we,
Mhm.
we have a natural client base that will be a consumer for a lot of this product. And it just came time where I kind of put my money where my mouth was. And where I say, if I don't make it, I don't sell it. I
Mhm.
decided to build a new shop and buy all the equipment. So, you
And make
know,
it, man.
we're gonna do this. I'm pretty excited about it.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's a really great way to kind of reach out to business owners and give them another option because you're right. When you said a lot of people don't want to buy the $100 jackets, I was like, yeah, you're right, man. But you want to do some kind of like thing for your clients, maybe, or your employees, maybe give them something cool to show off in their house or something. That's really awesome. And then, so you have that, you have those two things going on. What made you get into business in the first place? Like, I know you're retired Air Force. Um, Tell us about like that transition from maybe Air Force to entrepreneur, or was it like a natural, because I actually know a lot of military, servicemen and women who naturally kind of transition into this entrepreneurial realm. But I'm curious what that was like for you.
It's because we're sick of being told what to do is the honest truth. You know,
That's fair. That's
I
fair.
was a military policeman for almost 21 years in two different
Okay.
branches. I served 10 years in the Army as an MP and 11 years in the Air Force's security forces. Been deployed, been all over the world, been in, literally every war from 1988 to 2011. I've been in every conflict.
Oh
So,
wow.
when I got out of the service, I was one of the guys. I didn't want to go back and work for the government. I didn't
Mm,
want really anything to do with the military. I was burnout. I was tired.
yeah.
I didn't want to do anything with law enforcement. A lot of my buddies went into the marshals and stuff like that. I just, I was sick of looking at everybody as a bad guy. So when I got out, I was kind of like, what do I need to do when I grow up? So I went out and actually worked for a pest control company. I made jokes. I go, at least I get to shoot something these days. I did that, made really good money, tried to buy a house, and they said you couldn't buy a house because it was commission. I'm like, I don't sell anything. They give me jobs, I go
Yeah.
do it. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
so they wouldn't give me a loan. So I went over and I drove a
Whew.
bus for UTA. And that was kind of, I always joke, it's like who's getting on is getting on, who's getting off. And I just did my own thing. But the hours really sucked. So I sat there and I've been doing professional photography by that point for about 10 years. And
That's right. Yeah.
I went over and managed a portrait studio for Target Portraits. And that was really fun, but I didn't have a really fun boss. Here I was, a combat vet. I met all the stats, and she kept on trying to treat me like I was a 19-year-old girl, and I'm just like, that doesn't work for me. So I
Yeah.
had this, kind of like tonight. I was sitting there drinking a beer, and me and my buddy, and I said, if I had this is the dream I had of starting a rental photography studio. I go, I don't want to chase the people that want pictures. I want to turn
Mm,
all these photographers in Utah, all these mom togs, into my
yeah.
clients. And
Yeah.
so many people in Utah don't understand or didn't understand studio photography. So I opened up, which ended up being one of the largest rental photography studios in Utah. I was teaching professional photographers how to do studio lighting. I was holding classes. I mean, we held one class that
Wow.
we had 160 people show up to the course to learn
Oh
photography.
wow.
With us. So I was
Shoot.
I was teaching a lot of photography. It's been a passion of mine forever. So then that got me into the rental studio, and that's how my entrepreneur bug kind of bit me. We weren't making a ton of money with it. My wife tried to go to work for a year. I had
Mm.
a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old at home trying to run a business. I almost lost my daughter on the first day, so I wasn't doing good in the babysitting department. And
Sure.
then
Sure. Sure.
and it kind of it flourished from there. I had all these photographers that wanted prints, and I called a local business. I said, "Hey, I got all these professional photographers. What type of deal can you give us?" And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we're sorry, we don't give any deals." And I said,
Hmm.
"Congratulations, you made your number one competitor." So
You're
I bought my first printers, and in about a year they went out of business. And so
yeah.
we got into photography printing. I became a premier photographer printer for everybody
Oh
around here. And
wow.
then I got into sublimation printing, where it's taking pictures and putting them onto metal. And I
Mm.
became one of the biggest metal printers. And so photographers that were putting up their stuff into galleries in Jackson Hole and in
Hmm.
California and all these other places,
Yeah.
they were coming to me to do their prints. And so that became really fun. And then so that's what kind of got me into the printing. And with sublimation, you could do t-shirts because you can sublimate 100% polyester. So I started doing that. And then that just rolled into the apparel side, where we did more and more. And then I bought my first two embroidery machines. And
Oh
that just
wow.
went like wildfire, being able to do embroidery. I brought in another screen printer. I shut down the photography studio, brought in a screen printer to work with me. So we were all under one roof. And he just didn't meet my standards.
Mm.
So we ended up going out. We were going to drive to California and buy out a screen print shop. And I found somebody local that wanted to kind of close up shop. So we bought out their stuff. And, it was crazy. The first week I was learning screen print, I had ink up in my eyebrows, all over my arms. It wasn't, I knew I wasn't going to be the one, but like anything I do, even if I'm not going to be the primary person doing it, inside my heart and soul, I have to become the master of it. So
Yeah.
I sat there and really learned that. We found an amazing guy named Cade. He was laid off due to COVID from a screen print shop. We brought him onto ours. So why other companies were letting people go, we were hiring. And our
Yeah.
screen print started going crazy, full-time position. Our embroidery was going crazy, full-time position. We have a graphic artist on staff, which is a full-time position. And so that went absolutely haywire. But with screen print, there's a lot of setup with that. So
Yeah.
we ended up dumping like $23,000 when we brought a direct to garment printer. So then we
Oh
could do
wow.
shirts like this, where we could do one-offs, and it was super, super cool. And that went off like wildfire. So now we're doing direct to garment printing, screen printing, embroidery, vinyl transfers, large format, and it's just like I walk into our warehouse and it's just like everybody's gainfully employed and just doing what they need to do. And I just went back and I said, I take this as a blessing because I'm able to
Yeah.
help other people provide for their families. We've created a really good work atmosphere. We treat everybody like they're, like our kids. Lee's my business partner, and we're like almost two old guys that are married. We complete each other's sentences. But we wanted this atmosphere of that we loved our employees more than we loved the bottom line, and we
Yeah.
wanted to take care of everybody. So it's just been one hell of a ride. We've had a lot of fun with it, and I couldn't be any more blessed than I am today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's one of the cool things about being able to write your own check, being able to do what you want to do, and that's really cool that you're able to do a lot of those things. And as an entrepreneur, that's kind of like what our whole goal is, right? Is to build the economy, to come through and do all of these things. And I really like that transition from the Air Force to being an entrepreneur, and that's really cool. I actually met another guy who um, had a pretty similar story. Bus driver, started a really big business, and it's just cool. Like when you sit back and you're like, hey, this is what this isn't working. There's got to be something more to this. But before you got into the Air Force and before you really caught the entrepreneurial bug, is that something that you thought you were gonna do forever? Or like, excuse me, is that something you thought you were gonna do? Like you saw yourself doing this?
I was a punk ass teenager. If you'd asked anybody that went to school with me, they probably thought I was going to end up in jail. Um, the reason I became a cop in the military is I went to high school in in Colorado, Inglewood, Colorado,
Okay.
Cherry Creek High School. And the cops, and they should have, we were a bunch of punks, would always mess with us. And I'm like, the only way you can argue a fight with a cop is to be a cop. So at 18 years old, it was actually, I signed up when I was 17. Said, let me
Yeah.
go in the military as an MP for 4 years. I'll gain some experience. I'll get out. I'll be 22 years old. Then I can join the police department. And then I can go back to that guy that was a jerk and tell him to go kiss my butt. But I ended up liking the military better than civilian life, so I stayed in.
Yeah. How long were you in there? You were 20 years. You went the whole 20?
Just a shy of 21 years between both branches.
Okay. Wow. What was that like transferring branches?
You know, it was kind of interesting because at the time I transferred over, so from 1988 to 1998, I was an Army MP. I got out for 2 years. And then,
Mm,
I wasn't satisfied. I was missing something in life. And the Air Force at the time says, hey, you don't have to go back to basic training. You don't go to tech school. You can keep your rank. You can come right in the Air Force's security forces, and we'll just OJT you on the job training, the difference between the Army and Air Force. I'm all like, well, I still get to handcuff people. I get to still, write tickets. I still drive a patrol car. It can't be that much different. So when I went to my first duty station, I saw my chief and I looked at him and I'm all like, I'm so sorry. I know you're a sergeant major, but I don't know what the heck to call you. And he just
yeah.
shook his head and said Army and turned around and walked off on me. So it was pretty funny. So yeah, it was the first almost 2 weeks I was in the Air Force. I was in civilian clothes because I didn't get a clothing allowance to go buy uniforms.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was quite hilarious. So no, but it was awkward because like I wanted to be a canine handler. I wanted to be a dog handler. But when I went
Yeah.
into the Air Force, I already had 10 years of service and I was already a sergeant. So when I tried to go canine and you had to get up to a 5 level, and they said, by the time we get you trained and get you a dog, you'll be a E6 and you won't be working a dog anymore. So I couldn't be a
Mm,
canine handler in the Air Force. So I just stayed a typical cop. Most of my career I did law enforcement and or I
wow.
was
That's
or I was
crazy.
the boss.
That's crazy. And for you coming out of the Air Force then and like as an MP, you didn't want to go back and be a police officer or
You know, at the end of the day, I was sick of dealing with dead bodies. I've had my share of those. I was,
Mm,
sick of dealing, when everybody else would run away from a situation, we were running into it. You see a car accident, you're stopping your car. Again, no one wants to see the blood and gore. And you were literally sometimes armpit deep in it. And
mm,
just when I got out of the service, it was like I just got newly married. My
mhm,
wife was pregnant with our first child, and I had kind of a really bad attitude toward just life in general. After many deployments and
mm.
everything else. I don't want to make excuses, but I could be a jerk, and I
Well,
just said
yeah, I mean it's
I
tough.
need to
Like
get out of it. I needed to do something that would let me heal inside my heart and soul.
mm. And so that was what the entrepreneurial journey was for you, was allowing you to like let out that creative side that might not have been able to let go of, and really just start like giving back and in that way to help you heal.
Well, absolutely. In the military, as you go through phases, once you become a senior NCO, they say you become a strategic thinker. You no longer think of your day to day duties. You start looking at the lot bigger picture, and
Mm,
I think that really translates into business because, like right now, we're already looking at spring, different products and everything else, and we got 5 inches of snow outside. When we're in spring, I'm going to be looking at summer items. So you're always looking so far ahead. So the thought processes that the military installed in me or instilled in me kind of goes hand in hand with business. I really do think so.
yeah, I think so. Well, and like I mentioned, we were talking when we did your podcast together, and just before this, that yeah, there I know a lot of like military retired military who go in and do that entrepreneur. In fact, I can think of like 5 off the top of my head because they're disciplined. I think that's the number one thing you need in entrepreneurship is discipline. Like I think and discipline to me is like doing the stuff you have to do because you know you have to do it, and even though you might not want to do it, kind of thing. Yeah, but that's what else is the military besides being learning discipline and learning to be disciplined, right?
Well, and I can tell you this, I've been blessed. I'm 51 years old right now, and I've been pulling a retirement check for 10 years. Um,
That's awesome.
so so my house payment, my car payment, stuff like that's all covered. So I think
Wow.
that gives people like me a opportunity to maybe take risks that we would normally not take this late in the game because we
Mm,
know our bread and beans are already covered. That isn't the issue. So it does give us some flexibility and do stuff. I ended up
mhm,
being a late dad. I had my first child at 41, my second child at 43.
mm.
Um, and so I just really I appreciate the time with my kids so darn much and being a parent now because I don't think I would have been a great parent when I was younger.
Mm.
So, I just like I said, I'm more blessed than I really deserve. I get all the time I want with my kids. I get time with my wife. I work with my wife most of the time.
Right on.
So no, this has been literally a storybook, tale come
Yeah,
true. So it's
yeah.
freaking awesome.
I want to ask you a question. I know we got to wrap up soon, but I want to ask you a question about working with your wife. How do you guys set up those boundaries to work together, and maybe not bring work home or bring
She's the
home to
boss,
work?
I'm the employee. Real simple as that.
That's easy. All right.
You know, and I love you, honey, if you hear this. Um, she's not the most technical skilled person. She's not a computer guru. She
Yeah,
that
sure.
that isn't her forte, but she has a amazing attention to detail in how she looks at things. So we
Mhm.
both kind of have our lanes. We both market our company. We both talk about our company. But when it comes in, I do kind of the art side of it and get things done up and get them ready for production. She focuses a lot more on the production and delivery to customers. And so it's always worked really, really well for us.
Mm, that's cool. And so like bringing maybe like home problems to work or work problems to home, you guys don't really have an issue with that.
And like I said, this is my second marriage. I got it right the second time. Um,
All right, fair enough.
we really don't have that many issues anymore. I mean,
Sure,
we
sure.
we we have our own lane, so you know,
I like
it's
that. You did mention that, yeah.
yeah. There's other people. If I was married to them, I'd have a big issue working with them. My wife is an absolute angel. She's probably, and I'm not saying this just because she's my wife. She's
Yeah.
absolutely the sweetest person I've ever met in my life. And if she can put up with me, that should tell testaments to how sweet she is. So no, we get along pretty good. And
That's
we've
cool.
had issues at work, and usually one of us leaves for a little bit and we calm back down. And later it's
Sure,
like, man, you're
sure.
being dumb, or you weren't doing this. We talk about it, and
Mhm.
the next day we're typically fine again. So no big issues.
Yeah, I think yeah, well, I like that. So what I heard you say was, kind of everybody has their own lane. And then when the issues arise, yeah, you just handle it. I mean, it kind of sounds corny, but you just handle it like adults, right? You go back and you talk about it and you're like, all right, yeah. I find that works. Like me and my wife work on some projects together too. And yeah, being able to like have that open communication and lose the ego when you're talking like that. Um, I think there's wonders for that. So yeah, that's a great point. Well, I know look, I know you got a prime rib cooking
I
and I
do.
know it's New Year's Eve. So before we sign off, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, where they can find you, and we'll make sure we get that done.
Well, guys, first of all, Dalton, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for coming over to the podcast that I did. We focus on small businesses and trying to
Mm,
get the
yes.
word out, just like you. You know, if people need to get a hold of me, it's utah.laserpro@gmail.com. Pretty
Okay.
simple. I'm building the website now. I should have it something up by Monday or Tuesday so people can go to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Wasatch Prints. You look up print shop, Clearfield, Utah will be the number one print shop. So you can get a hold of me through there. or through Facebook. I mean, I'm pretty easy to find.
Oh, right on. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being here, Scott.
I appreciate you as well, sir.